President Biden traveled to Wilkes-Barre, Pennsylvania Tuesday to detail his $37 billion plan aimed at addressing gun violence across the nation. With just over 2 months until the midterm elections, the president emphasized the need for more law enforcement officers, contradicting a little bit the message from some of the most liberal voices in his party.
Call it the Safer America's plan, and both your members of Congress voted for it. It's based on a simple notion. When it comes to public safety in this nation, the answer is not defund the police, it's fund the police. Fund the police.
The president reiterated his desire for Congress to ban assault weapons. It's been a non-starter since he took office and a near impossibility without Democratic victories, and a lot of them in November. For more on this, Sean Sullivan joins us now. He's a CBS News political contributor and the deputy politics editor for campaigns at the Washington Post. So, Sean, let's start with the policy here. What specific problem or policy is the president trying to solve here?
Well, John, there appear to be two imperatives that we're seeing here from the White House. One is on policy, as you mentioned, and a problem that Democrats who have been in charge of the federal government for the past couple of years have worried about across the country over the past 24 months or so is the rise in violent crime that we're seeing in a lot of places. And so this, in part, is a measure that is intended to combat crime, and also strictly on gun violence, too, which has been a driver of a lot of violent crime everywhere and has been something that this White House has tried to underscore. So that is the policy side of this. There was also, I think, a very clear political imperative from this president to try to counteract or get ahead of Republican arguments, which Democratic strategists have said have been very effective. And those arguments basically amount to, look, Democrats are soft on crime. You have liberal members of the party calling to defund the police. And so a lot of Democrats, including inside this White House, have believed for a long time now that they really, really need to push back against that. And if they don't, they could really, really suffer in these midterm elections. I think that's why we've heard the president specifically call that out, talking about funding the police. This is something we've heard from him a lot during his presidency. And that was a clear message that he was trying to send to the American people. Whether or not it's received in these elections is the big question that remains to be seen, because Republicans are zeroing in on liberal members who have said they want to defund the police. And so they're trying to kind of, exploit this divide that has long existed in the Democratic Party over the last couple of years.
And candidate Joe Biden also said he was not for defunding the police. So this has been a long time position. But as you mentioned, there are members of his coalition, liberals in the party. How do you think they will react to this, to what he said today and this policy proposals more broadly?
Yeah, that question sort of looms over everything this White House does on crime, on gun violence, because you have a very vocal part of the Democratic Party that, one, has called for defunding the police. Now, those voices are limited, but they have been vocal. And two, who want to see stronger action to combat gun violence, who want to see stronger changes to policing laws. And so this White House and this president have tried during the last several months here to try to strike a balance there, and it's been a difficult one. How do they satisfy a party base that wants those changes, but also a lot of other voters who say, hey, we want to prioritize safety? So every time they roll out one of these speeches and plans, you always see some people saying, look, we're happy, we're satisfied, but you tend to see people on the left also saying, hey, this president needs to go farther. This White House needs to go farther. We need to do more to curtail the power of police, and we need to do more to change our gun laws.
And, we should remind that this was one of the major social movements in the late part of the Trump presidency after George Floyd's murder that shook politics to its core, this debate between police and the communities. So we're some distance from that now. And the president, who tried to do something else, which I thought was politically interesting, and I'd like to get your reaction to, he took the opportunity to denounce Republicans who defend the Capitol rioters on January 6th, and also those who disparage federal law enforcement, particularly with respect to the investigation in Mar-a-Lago. Let's listen to what the president said.
So let me say this to my MAGA Republican friends in Congress. Don't tell me you support law enforcement if you won't condemn what happened on the 6th. Don't tell me. You can't be a party of law and order and call the people who attacked the police on January 6th patriots.
So this is what the cliche flipping the script is known as. Republicans have consistently been seen in polling and historically as the party that does better with voters who care about crime and safety. But President Biden's obviously trying to change that. Do you see Democrats across the country, some of whom are not campaigning with Joe Biden, are they going to pick up this message as a part of their campaigns?
Well, it appears, at least from these remarks, that the president, who is seen traditionally as the person who sets the tone for what his party's candidates will say in these midterm elections, particularly in the post-Labor Day stretch run, it seems like that is the signal that he is sending, that, hey, here is what we should run on. I think what this president is trying to do is two things. One, find another way, as we talked about, to rebut these Republican attacks that Democrats are somehow the party that is soft on crime, by saying, as you mentioned, John, sort of turning the tables, flipping the script and saying, look, unless you guys condemn this violence, you guys are the ones who are not, living up to standards of law and order and things like that. But I think he's also trying to set the table for a larger argument, which the president and this party appear to be wanting to talk about more and more, which is taking the fight to Republicans more, trying to turn these midterm elections less into a referendum on him and his record, which polling shows continues to be pretty unpopular, into a referendum, into more of a choice, I should say, between what Republicans stand for and what Democrats stand for. Now, these midterm elections tend to be referenda on the party in power, on the president in power. So it's a big challenge to try to turn the tables that way. But it seems more and more that what this president is trying to do is say, hey, look, this election is a choice. It's a choice between my party and what I stand for and the other party, which stands heavily with Donald Trump.
He won't have been the first president to try and do that. As you say, it usually doesn't work. Sean Sullivan in Washington, thank you.